maybe best way to start the panel is to ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Rudolf Engelsman, working for KPN IoT, and I'm head of products and marketing.
And my name is Daniel Conradsen. I'm working for Trackunit, currently as head of engineering.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Lukasz Balczewski. I'm the product manager for M2M and IoT digital platforms at IDEMIA.
Great. Okay, so I think we will have half an hour for the panel, so plenty of time to discuss a number of important things. So I would start with a question about the new eSIM IoT specifications. So what makes the new eSIM IoT technology and the specifications transformative for businesses? And maybe Rudolf, we can start with you.
Yes, sure. Yeah, I think IoT RSP or the SGP.32 standard will be the next leap in IoT connectivity, as it will, in my opinion, tap into some of the promises made of, for example, the M2M RSP spec or the consumer eSIM. You see that it really takes away certain barriers for easier scalable deployments, such as the interoperability, for example, between devices, networks, but also management platforms. I saw it in your slides as well. We truly believe it will impact cost and investment as the solution is less complex, but it's also more easy to provision the solution itself. And you have the scalable deployments as an important factor, right? So how can you have IoT use cases that really scale, which is easy for the organization to do, whilst you have certain restrictions depending on the region where the use case should be deployed, which you don't know beforehand, you know only later on in the stage. So I think with the ease of deployment, you would see adoption rates go up as you have a flexible solution that can tap into any region where the device services. So those elements are taken away, and we at KPN truly believe that, well, as I said, it's the next leap in IoT connectivity, and therefore we work with partners such as IDEMIA to find the best solution, bring this value to our end customers. Great.
So Lukasz, what's your opinion, what's your view?
So the new specification has been developed as a response to the learnings of the past. And over the last couple of years, the industry has accumulated a lot of knowledge and lessons learned. And the new spec responds to that in a number of ways. So firstly, it is open to various lightweight protocols, which we feel will bring in more smart devices to the market. And by being open and by accepting those low-power devices and lightweight protocols, we feel there will be an influx of smart meters, asset trackers, or various other industrial sensors, whether you deploy them on-premise or out in the field. And then secondly is the simplicity of the whole framework. And let's maybe underline that twice. Simplicity of the ecosystem for all actors is key. And what I mean by that is we'll have faster turnaround and deployment times that translate directly into lower costs and faster time to market. And then lastly, we feel that a lot more actors will enter the market, which is true for both OEMs and MNOs. Customers will be offered more choice and flexibility. OEMs will finally be able to work with more connectivity providers, limiting or even eliminating the vendor lock-in. Likewise, the local MNOs will be finally be able to enter the IoT game with their more streamlined and tailored offerings, further expanding the connectivity landscape.
Great, so there is a technology angle, but importantly also use cases angle to explore. So Daniel, maybe a question for you. For Trackunit as an enterprise using eSIM technology, what business challenges and opportunities are driving Trackunit's adoption of eSIM for IoT?
Okay, so I think to put it simply, Trackunit is a company that operates on a truly global scale. We manage more than 1.5 million eSIM connections across 205 countries every day. And If that fact alone isn't obvious as to why the new eSIM IoT standard is valuable for Trackunit, I don't know what is. But on top of that, we have a very core pillar in our business model is that as soon as our IoT devices in Trackunit, they leave the factory lines, we effectively hand over the responsibility to our customers to decide where they want to use our devices, how they want to use them, and for how long. That is completely up to our customers, and it's our responsibility to enable them to have that, that responsibility. So all of that means that we do not know where our devices they will surface once they leave our factories. They could surface here in Barcelona, they could surface in the remote outback of Australia, or they could even surface in a mining district in the Brazilian jungle. We don't know, but what is very important is that our devices, they just have to work now, tomorrow, and 5 or 10 years from now, regardless of whatever challenges will emerge over the coming years. Yeah, and even on top of that, our data now indicates that our devices, they will cross international borders 2 or maybe 3 times during their operational lifetime. So having that native flexibility in our solution through KPN and IDEMIA to make sure that wherever our devices go, we can adapt and we can continue to deliver value to our customers.
It's always important to hear from a customer because in general, when we attend the conferences, usually it's suppliers only. We never see the customer. And this is always a comment that I make when vendors organize a conference, or you should bring your customers because people will hear how your customers are using your technology and how your technology is helping them. So it's really good to have you here. Okay, so I guess Lukasz was talking about use cases for eSIM in IoT now that there has been improvement on specifications. And this is a question that I get regularly from customers. What will be the use cases and devices driving growth? So maybe Rudolf, we start with you. Which other use cases and verticals will likely adopt and benefit from the new eSIM technology?
Yeah, I think Daniel pointed out the USPs for an organization such as Trackunit quite nicely. Yeah? So flexibility, but also really a solution that allows you to deploy globally. So I think these USPs actually are applicable on numerous use cases across different sectors. But to highlight 2, it's the OEMs. Lukasz referred to it also. Within KPN, we see an increasing demand for OEMs seeking a flexible connectivity solution, which they want to embed in their product or device at an early stage in the cycle. Despite the fact that they don't know where it's going to surface or the solution, I think Daniel elaborated on that as well. But they really need a flexible solution from the beginning, which gives them that ease of use to service their end customer wherever that device will pop up or be deployed. So that is one case. Charging poles is an example of that, for which we see increasing demand in. Second is global deployment, right? So use cases that scale globally. That can be Trackunit, but it's also automotive, or we see it in the logistical sector where assets cross boundaries. All these use cases rely on global connectivity, a global connectivity solution that makes the device work anywhere. However, you also see the roaming landscape changing, for example. We see an increasing regulations on permanent roaming. You have regulations on that forces you to process data locally in the country. Having a flexible connectivity solution, allowing you to find the best profile for that case at hand, we think is really beneficial for these types of use cases.
So global and mobile, so scalable globally and mobility. I think this is a powerful formula in terms of business model. And so, Lukasz, anything that you want to add on top?
Sure. So we've run multiple POCs last year. In fact, more than 30. And we've run it with major key players. Among them were top 3 of the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for eSIM IoT managed services. And these customers include They include smart meter companies, manufacturers, the utility providers who leverage on the specification support for low-powered networks and low-consumption devices. And the promise here to finally being able to choose a connectivity of your choice whenever the need is finally materializing. Then we have automotive, of course. They've been there, they've done that. Rudolf mentioned it as well, where we've seen numerous SGP.02 deployments, successful ones globally. Yet SGP.32 offers more. So in fact, 100% of our automotive customers are conducting SGP.32 POCs with IDEMIA. And then we have module makers who seek to embed connectivity right within the devices to offer a seamless, out-of-the-box solution for their customers.
Great. Now a very important question. So now that the technology is available, what will happen in the next 12 months? Let's focus on the next 12 months. What is that you expect? What is that you want to see in the next 12 months with regards to eSIM for IoT? And maybe Daniel, we can start with you.
Yeah, so the next 12 months is going to be offering a lot of challenges in terms of implementation, because as you say, yes, the technology is here. These guys have made sure of that. But for us, it's not as simple as just implementing the solution right off the get-go. We have already now started work to fundamentally redesign the core architecture of our solutions, because one thing is having a technology, but being able to leverage it and deliver results on top of it is ever so critical. And in addition to that, on the business side of what we do in Trackunit, this technology and the implementation will also fundamentally change the way that we engage with customers in the discussions that we're having around projects in challenging markets. Whereas historically, it have always been a topic as to how do we mitigate constraints if a customer wants to deploy in Australia or in Brazil, which is of course one of the best examples. But now with these implementations, we can be much more comfortable and we can be much more laid back in our answers to that, because previously we have always relied on the SGP.02 solution, which works, but it's still a cumbersome process, and there are still some challenges because you need much more players to be involved and in sync all the time. But now we can really shift the conversations that we have with our customers to what really matters both to them but also to us in Trackunit, which is eliminating downtime in the construction industry and really fueling the transformation of construction to be the most efficient industry in the world.
I love the customer engagement point, because obviously we are doing this to generate value for customers, and obviously customer experience is what will make the customer happy, and potentially you can build on that to deliver a new experience or new services. So it's a very, very important point. And Rudolf, what is that you expect in the next 12 months?
Well, I think now that the standard has been launched from the GSMA, so the SGP.32 standard, it's the starting point actually as a conversation starter. So I noticed it here as well at the Mobile World, or for example, the discussions we've had with Trackunit, amongst others. You see that now the standard has been defined. It enables you to start on conversation. What does this actually mean? What does this mean for you from an end customer perspective, but actually for all parties in that ecosystem, from a customer to connectivity provider to the IDEMIAs of this world. So all these players in the ecosystem need to fully understand the technology, the protocols, see how it translates to their business, not only the business model, but also the processes and the product they service or the service they deliver. And that takes time. So in the upcoming months, I expect that all these players in the landscape will define a strategy on how can I adopt this new technology, what does it mean for my business, what do I need to do to fully embrace it, and see how I can bring that value also to my end customers in the use case. So if I look at it more holistically, I would say that also, at least from a KPM perspective, we think that there will be a hybrid model for the upcoming period, right? You have the SGP.32 standard, but you also have the M2M RSP or the consumer eSIM. We are well equipped and devoted to service all of these, as we are in this transition phase where the standard has been set, but the ecosystem still needs to transform clarity on specification with regards to certification of hardware needs to be fine for specific use cases. So this transformation phase will take time, and the ecosystem needs to prepare. So that's my view.
So there is an opportunity, but obviously there is more work to do to transform also the way
you do it together with the partners, you do it with your customer.
It's an industry-wide collaboration.
Correct.
Is needed to make sure that we have progress across all the components of the value chain.
Yeah.
And Lukasz, what do you expect in the next 12 months?
Of course, it will take time. We envision a rise in eSIM IoT transactions. The research shows that the rise will be fairly sharp. The market tipping point, some research says, is around 2027-ish, where the SGP32 transactions will overtake and surpass that of 02. So there is still some time left, but it will catch fairly rapidly. And secondly, we envision a rapid rise of the number of deployed platforms. And this is, again, thanks to the simplified architecture. The major players in the next 12 months will embrace the technology, and they will bring on their customers or their affiliates on board, whether these are POCs or large-scale production deployments. It will grow. So, in fact, we've already delivered a pre-standard SGP32 solution and deployed it with our OEMs and MNOs, and we're on track to certify the whole ecosystem, so the UICC and the server component this year. So, looks like a very busy and fruitful year.
And so, yeah, I agree. The next 12 months will be very, very important at the industry level to build on the availability of technology and specifications and actually drive a commercial adoption. And perhaps 12 months from now, my estimate of half of the market using remote SIM provisioning will be more than half if we see really good developments over the next 12 months. But I agree with all of you, is an ecosystem collaboration in order to drive adoption. Okay, so we have been talking about the end user. And for an IoT market, the end user is the enterprise using eSIM technology, whether it's an enterprise from manufacturing or healthcare or automotive or utilities. That is really the end user of eSIM technology. So let's elaborate a little bit more on the end user benefits and perspective with a question that is, you as a supplier of eSIM for IoT technology, what strategic advice would you give to your customers or enterprises that are considering the adoption of eSIM for IoT technology? And maybe we start with you, Rudolf.
Yeah, sure, thanks. Yeah, as I said, the standard is now there, published. So, but I also believe it's complex, right? It's a complex technology. We're in a transition phase that is in development as well. So for a customer or an end customer, my advice would be that it really starts with understanding what it entails, what it implies also for you or for your organization, not only on processes, but also on your business model, and define there how can it aid your solution. And if you have that clear, work together with partners in the ecosystem that you need to fully embrace the value that it can bring to you, to set a clear deployment strategy, use the time that is coming where the technology is still in development to do pilots together with your partners or with an end customer, that you learn also from the technology and what it brings to you, and then fully adopt it then at a later stage for bigger rollouts, that you're well prepared.
And now that I think more about the enterprise survey that we did in 2024, I forgot to mention that awareness of eSIM technology among enterprises is actually very high. So we didn't have many situations where we asked, do you know what eSIM is? And they said, no, we don't know. Actually, awareness is very, very high. And probably the gap at the moment is they know what eSIM is. They know the benefits of eSIM, but obviously they need some help to implement the technology. And because they are aware of eSIM, but they are not technical. They will never be able to work on their own.
So that's why I stress the importance of that ecosystem, right? So work with your partners, the connectivity provider, the IDEMIAs, or with other customers, learn from each other and see where it can help you.
And Daniel, from your perspective, obviously your company is already using eSIM technology. What strategic advice would you give to other enterprises that have yet to start implementing eSIM technology?
So I think, first of all, if you're already determined that you want to implement it, I think one of the most important advices from our perspective is do not underestimate the complexities of managing an eSIM portfolio across the entire world, because there are so many parameters, there are so many things that changes every day. And especially if all of you just think back to maybe 5 years ago to what you perceived as the reality of the time, what was the consensus of the industry as to what was going to happen in the future. I don't think that we are in that exact situation now that you envisioned at the time. So you really have to continue to evaluate your needs. And on top of just thinking about what do you gain from eSIM and how should you actually implement it, you also have to consider, even if you don't need it today, what are the hidden risks or hidden costs of not implementing it? Because if either of your use cases are anywhere near similar to ours, you can't just go out into the field and retrieve a device after it has been deployed. It would, at least in our case, cost hundreds of euros to get a device back to fit a new SIM card in if you're still using plastic SIMs. So you really have to be aware of what are the consequences if you do not do your homework, if you do not take the developments that we're seeing right now serious, because it's moving fast and it's moving unpredictably. And at least from our perspective, you need to make sure that the decisions that you make today, they also valid 10 years from now. It's almost an impossible ask, but you really have to think about that.
And maybe, for your company, when you started to implement eSIM technology, in the early days, what was your biggest challenge? What was the thing that you said, oh, wow, this is going to be challenging?
So I think the main driver at the time of our decision to start implementing eSIM technology on the SGP.32 standard at the time, that was permanent roaming restrictions. And it is still a challenge, and it is still a growing challenge to some extent, not necessarily in outright roaming restrictions, but there are a lot of flavors to it where you have so many markets today as where you're deploying with one SKU globally. You can't just deploy and expect things to work.
Great. And so, Lukasz, from your perspective, obviously you work with a number of customers and partners. What are the strategic advice that you would give?
There is so much, but we have so little time left. So let's try to compact it. So first, think about scalability and flexibility, about your business processes that you have now and that you will have when embracing this new technology and in the future, of course. So I'm thinking an orchestration platform so flexible that is able to handle all the use cases that we may not even envision now. Secondly is the cloud. We feel that choosing a public cloud supplier in most cases brings more benefits than actually going alone on that journey without such a partner. And then connectivity, making sure we have the best connectivity locally on the device. And what I mean by that is being able to automatically fetch the right one, depending on the location of the device, whether it's done locally or remotely using the server component. And then we have second big point is simplicity and efficiency. So a lot of our customers will start from scratch in the eSIM IoT. We'll have a blank page. Let's do it wisely. Do not overcomplicate things. I like to use an expression of integration spaghetti hell. So let's not get there. We've seen there, we've done that. It's very difficult to untangle, and it's not future-proof at all. And then in terms of further efficiency is being able to create a profile, a digital profile, and adjusted contents on the fly as the download is pending is critical. There are no more wasted profiles and no more profiles to be recycled, gone. And then lastly, is just do not hold back. Start now. I would say write down your goals, know your use cases, choose the hardware and the protocols and all that comes with it, and just start. To be ahead of the competition or on par, because trust me, they are already doing it and testing. And the best way to validate is to actually go out and test across different regions, different networks with the hardware of your choice. And to sum up, if I were to choose one sentence that summarizes all the significant and magnificent effort that we did last year with all our customers, one single lesson learned, it would be just get your hands dirty. Really do it. There is no better way of just getting there, doing it, testing it. My colleagues already said that. Iterate and validate, as you will be able to deliver with speed. And I am sure that our offer and the SGP standard itself is built specifically for that. Thanks.
And so basically start as soon as possible, because obviously it takes time and there are some challenges, operational, technical challenges. And I like the orchestration role, because going back to my slide with the top 3 challenges that enterprises face when deploying IoT technology, the third was integration of eSIM technology with other technologies that are developing in parallel. And obviously, if we think about it, if technology integration is complex, you as an enterprise, you don't have the capabilities and skills to overcome this challenge. So you will need a partner, and the partner has to be a supplier of technology. So I think in general, and we see this not only in IoT, but also in artificial intelligence, cloud, private networks, 5G, all the new technologies, there is an orchestration role to play, and which is particularly relevant for MNOs like KPN, the orchestration role where you help enterprises integrate these technologies, and they will become your long-term partner because they trust you, they know that you will help them throughout the entire cycle. So the orchestration role, I think, has always been important, very important. From now on, I think it will be more important than ever before, and that's, I think, an opportunity also for MNOs. And maybe a very quick final question about, so we have been talking about eSIM for enterprise, eSIM for digital industries. Is there anything that we can learn from the consumer market, eSIM in the consumer market, some learnings that can be applied to the IoT and enterprise world? Rudolf, any thoughts?
Good question. My thoughts would be that consumer eSIM really has a certain customer experience to it, right? Making it, so there's the awareness part. I saw it on your slides as well. We're not there yet, of course, with the IoT spec, but there's an ease of use and the user experience around it. And it's more, of course, the chain is more complex in a IoT use case, but if we can get to a certain customer experience with the provisioning, with the activation, the managing, etc., of the use case at hand, I think that can really drive adoption. So from a customer perspective, make it as easy and flawless as possible.
Great. And Lukasz, from your side, any learnings from the consumer market that can be applied to IoT?
I think it all depends how you run the business, of course, but we've seen that we can reuse. That's essentially the goal of the specification, is to reuse what you already have. So I'm thinking the DP Plus, it's there. Try to utilize it. Of course, there will be situations where you'll have different divisions with two different platforms, but I would say try to use what you already have.
Great. Okay, we are coming to an end, and so Rudolf, Daniel, Lukasz, thank you very much for sharing your views about eSIM and the future of eSIM for IoT, and enjoy the rest of Mobile World Congress. And okay, so please.
Thank you very much.